teaser trailer, so I was quite surprised to see some of you dislike it. In fact, you aggressively disliked it. Everybody's so upset these days. Let's dial it down a little bit, man, and remember, at the end of the day, we all just want to have a good time. Although some of the negative reactions reminded me that not everyone loved Thor Ragnarok. What? I know, but some people felt it was too silly. This movie seems silly, but it seems a little deeper. Thor's really looking inward, which I also love, although maybe it's not some people's cup of tea. Although they can't have every superhero movie be the same. So this one basically being the movie version of like a heavy metal song, I think is pretty cool. The Thor Ragnarok movie did very well, but it didn't make it to $1 billion, which is really kind of like, where most superheroes movies should be this day, because a lot of them are breaking into the $2 billion club. But, it did like $850 million. I mean, that's certainly excellent. But I wonder how this one will do, coming right on the heels, like really right after Doctor Strange 2. Marvel, when they first announced they were doing Disney Plus shows, I was like, don't oversaturate the market, man. Or Kevin Feige, who is the man. And I kind of feel to some degree that they are doing that. There's just, I'm loving it, but there's just so much Marvel content. You have a situation where it used to be that people felt they couldn't miss a chapter, to now people feel they can miss a chapter here and there, which is not good. And you certainly won't want anyone to think they could miss this chapter. It looks incredible to me. All right, we're going to break it down, this trailer, but first I want to read to you the synopsis that Disney sent out this morning to press, because it'll give you a little bit of a perspective when you look at these trailer shots as to what's happening. So, a new trailer and poster are now available for Marvel Studios' Thor Love and Thunder, offering long-awaited clues, that's what we're doing, to what's in store for the God of Thunder. The film finds Thor, Chris Hemsworth, on a journey unlike anything he's ever faced. Who writes these? It's so fun. A quest for inner peace. But his retirement is interrupted by a galactic killer known as Gorr the God Butcher, Christian Bale, not even teased in this trailer, although if you know what to look for, he is, who seeks the extinction of the gods. To combat the threat, Thor enlists the help of King Valkyrie, Tessa Thompson, Korg, Taika Waititi, and ex-girlfriend Jane Foster, Natalie Portman, who, to Thor's surprise, inexplicably wields his magic hammer, Mjolnir, as the mighty Thor. Together, they embark on a harrowing cosmic adventure to uncover the mystery of the God Butcher's vengeance and stop him before it's too late. Is this going to be another Marvel villain that dies in the movie they're introduced in? So stupid. This is several storylines from Jason Aaron's iconic run on Thor. So amazing, so good. You should definitely read it. But since they've jammed them all together into one single movie, which can't be more than 2 hours probably, although I heard a rumor that the cut they're trying to whittle down is quite long, could be 2 movies. But it makes me a little bit fearful that they can't do any of the stories justice by putting them all into, why would you not wait? I think Thor is such a great character that you could do a couple of more Thor movies, quite frankly. So why not do a Gorr movie and then a Jane Foster movie, or vice versa? Why would you pick all of Jason Aaron's wonderful storylines and smoosh them into a single movie? We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. I told you, I think the teaser looks great. And the other thing I want to say is that while I think the teaser looks great, please forgive me as we're going to start with breaking down Jane Foster. Even though she's at the end of the teaser, I think that's the big headline, so I want to start with that. And I'm underwhelmed with this debut. So we'll get to the good stuff in just a moment. Now, I'm not saying I won't like Jane Foster's Mighty Thor in the movie. I'm just saying that you only get one chance to make a first impression, and I feel this is weak. And it seems to be Thor's first impression of her as well. He shouldn't feel too threatened. In the comic, he was so threatened when he saw someone else, especially a mystery person, wielding Mjolnir. Talk about being sent on a soul-searching situation. But here, it seems from the description that there's no mystery as to who this is. I guess it's harder to, it's like the old domino mask in comic books. Who could Nightwing possibly be? It's clearly Dick Grayson. But anyway, maybe at first I thought maybe they put her in such darkness to try and obscure who she was, her identity. Maybe at the first moment he doesn't know who it is, but maybe they did this for lightning effect. It's dark, so the lightning will light it up. But they didn't do that in this shot. I mean, they had a little lightning on her hand, but I'd be like, put a lightning bolt behind her to really electrify the situation and give her some great side lighting, right? And you're like, woo, and reflect off her helmet, bling, but they didn't do it. Some of you actually pointed out that, it's a tall order for, scenes where it's revealed someone else is wielding Mjolnir after, of course, the iconic and legendary Captain America scene in Avengers Endgame. And I agree with you. This had to be as good as that, and I don't think that it is. I don't even know. I mean, I don't know what they are working with. I don't know what her scenes are like in the movie, but there's got to be a better one than this for the first look. Now, some of you like it, and what's interesting to me is that depends on where you're looking. If you're looking at the gun show, if you're looking at her arms, you think she looks great. That's the furthest thing from my mind. I went right to the hair, right? The hair in the face, and I was very underwhelmed. I think that Russell Dauterman, who helped create this character in the comics, who got his start on my comic book for Boom Studios, Superbia, he's an exceptional artist, really, really talented. I hope he gets an ongoing book again soon, because he knocked it out of the park with his work with Jason Aaron on Thor, particularly the Jane Foster Mighty Thor run. But I mean, she really knew how to make an entrance with Dauterman and Jason Aaron putting her together. And as someone who's worked with Russell Dauterman, I know that he brings a lot to the table. It's really like a dance between the two of us, where he was particularly good, I recall, with camera angles and really picking the best perspective to really make an image come to life, which is what you want when you have a comic book artist. And the cinematographer here doesn't seem to have that same ability. Like there was always lightning and wind, and it was bright colors. I mean, it's hard to do hair with a helmet, right? I would have taken out the back of the helmet on her so that she could have had more hair in the back. It just seems too proper, too staid. I mean, she's supposed to be really fierce. That was, we don't want her to be, she's the mighty Thor, but she's going to be standing next to Chris Hemsworth's Thor, who's very hard to compete with because he's just so, he's really coming to his own with this role. He owns it. So you don't want her to be the boring Thor in comparison. So as I said, she was very fierce in the comics. She was brutal. She loved the power that she wielded as Thor and with Mjolnir to do what's right, especially because all the other times when she wasn't wielding Mjolnir, she was extremely weak from cancer and the chemotherapy she was undergoing, which also gave her some anger about what was happening to her, and also the feeling that time was running out. She was a woman who had nothing to lose. And I don't see any of that here. And Natalie Portman's an Oscar-winning actress, so she should be able to convey these things. She just seems, we talk a lot about voguing, and some of you are like, what's voguing, Grace? There's a perfect example of it. That's voguing instead of acting, in my opinion. But again, it's just one shot. Maybe the rest of the movie, she does a fantastic job. But as I said, you only get one chance to make a first impression. I can't imagine the Jane Foster Thor storyline without the chemo cancer situation. So I don't know how they're going to fit that into this movie as well. Maybe it'll be revealed like at the end of the movie. I don't know. I don't know. But it's a great comic, I'll tell you that. All right. Which would make it all the more tragic if they ruined it. All right, so let's start at the beginning of this teaser. Now, I love this opening with Thor, because, Thor's really looking back, self-reflecting, and to see him running through these trees, taken a little bit from Wonder Woman, but growing older as he goes through the trees. And I love this. This looks like a comic book outfit a little bit, and also, it's very comics accurate. It's almost like Loki, Richard Grant in the series. But you delight in how comics accurate it is. But it also reminds me of the crazy stuff we wear when we're teenagers and stuff like that, right? And then there he is, an adult. Oh, I just think that's just, I don't know. I thought something about it was quite charming. And then he's in fire, forged in flames, right? I mean, I don't know if he's thinking back to when he was against Surtur, right? So, several times in the last movie, but he's like, these hands, are forged in battle or something like that. And he doesn't want to do it anymore. Look, he's buried a Stormbreaker. I'm curious if is it an ode to his father who passed away? Like, is he burying somebody or is he just burying his past? They're both poetic and beautiful. Maybe both. But I love that. I just think, this to me is quite charming. Again, as I said, it reminds me a lot of a heavy metal song. And we'll talk about the one they use in a moment. So he's underneath this gorgeous tree, self-reflecting. Look at that. And by the way, I'm like, look at those eyelashes. Wow. Those are incredible. And he opens his Baby Blues, which, by the way, the song is about blue eyes. The song that they use focuses on blue eyes. And he says, I want to figure out, who I am. And I think it's funny because he's, taking a deeper look and deciding where he's going to go next, because this is the first Marvel character who's gone beyond a trilogy in their own movies. He's breaking new ground, not only for himself, but for the franchise. And even for most franchises, usually it's a trilogy. And then, the characters will certainly maybe show up again, but, rarely in their own film. So, he should take a bow for that alone. That's a tremendous accomplishment. So they have the music start up, and they're using Sweet Child O' Mine from Guns N' Roses. And it's a song, I looked it up, not a lot of lyrics, but it's a song about looking back and regret. And it has thunder in the lyrics, so Taika Waititi might have been, pulled to it for that reason as well. But, think about Thor's situation now. Both his parents are dead. He had a chance to say goodbye to his mother in Avengers Endgame. And you see this amazing poster, which a lot of us feel reminds us, of the He-Man iconography, but it also is very reminiscent of heavy metal posters and album covers and stuff like that. And I think it's funny that at the top of the title, it says the one and only Thor. And of course, in this very movie, there are two Thors. So I think there probably is going to be something about that, about, you don't have to be, is his identity Thor, or is that just a title? I love this stuff. I think it's fantastic. And I applaud the movie and Taika Waititi for going here. And I think Taika Waititi is a perfect person to do this. I think he's very good at, based on the other films that he's done, I think he's very good at funny but thoughtful. All right. So I love this. And his hat says the strongest Avenger, which of course he argued with Bruce Banner about, in Thor Ragnarok. There was a funny gag about that when they were trying to get into the ship. The Avengers, it was the Quinjet, right? Yeah, the Quinjet. But I just also love this. It's so funny because, he's getting into shape, but it's that classic training montage. Although this is really what, guys in particular do. It's actually, I think I've seen women do it now too, but it's a training regimen. And Chris Hemsworth, by the way, has started his own bodybuilding company, which is extremely successful. I think, in fact, he just sold it or got a big partner to invest. We always talk about diversifying your portfolio, and Chris Hemsworth is so well known for his physique. He's also doing stuff for Disney Plus too, National Geographic, but I thought that was a very clever business idea. So, look at that. So, speaking of dead gods, I couldn't figure out who this was. I don't think it's a reference to any of the movies or anything like that, because he doesn't seem to be in Asgard, and Surtur wouldn't have been here. Surtur lived. He killed Hela. But I just think training in the skeletal remains of a god is an interesting choice, particularly when Gorr's going to come along. And, did Gorr kill that guy, maybe, which would be a man or a woman? That'd be interesting. So, he's trying to find himself. Clearly, he's not getting along too well with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Looks like maybe he has a dance battle or something in mind. I love his hair. I love his man bun. He looks fantastic. He's really rocking the man bun. So this shot, to me, was very poignant. And that they all run off into battle, and Thor's just not feeling it anymore. And he just turns and walks away. I thought that was gorgeous. And he says, my superhero days are over, as the Milano jumps. And there he is. And I guess I'm curious, you don't know how these scenes are cut together, if they're all the same scene. But there he is with Korg. And some of you wanted me to point out that he was wearing wrestling pants or heavy metal performance pants. But Korg definitely looks very cool. And, I think Thor seems at peace with himself. He's like, my superhero days are over. But are they? I don't think so. Famous last words. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. You got another movie to make, man. So there's the Goat Boat, Asgard Tours, which of course we've already seen as a Lego set. I would take that tour. Now, I'm not sure, they make you think this might be New Asgard, but I think this is Olympus. I think this is Mount Olympus. There are a lot of different gods in this movie because Gorr's got to have a lot of people to kill. So you're going to see a lot of different mythologies represented here. And I'm pretty excited about that, although it looks like they're going to spend a lot of time in Olympus, which makes sense because Zeus is also a god of thunder. So he and Thor will probably really get along. So I think this might be Olympus. It's stunning. It's gorgeous. So I'm not sure what's happening here. maybe a dream sequence. He's Taika Waititi with Pirates. Our Flag Means Death is his most recent show on HBO Max. And, the big reveal was that it actually turned out to be an LGBT romance, and actually has a lot of LGBT representation across the board with the whole cast. But I didn't watch the show because I didn't care for the humor. I started the first episode. I didn't know what it was going to become. But I've seen a lot of the memes and the GIFs and the fan cams and the fan art on Twitter, and I think it's just really charming. And I thought some of the moments that Taika Waititi and his team have put together between the two love interests were really, really sweet. I really like them. So it says, not every god. So in the comic, in Jason Aaron's comic in particular, Thor travels around a lot, typically in a Viking boat through space. It's a cool visual. I don't know if he's got the goats pulling him here. But look, there he is. I'm not quite sure if he's on the boat here or not, but he seems to have Stormbreaker back. Look at him. He looks so happy. Chris Hemsworth, I'm glad that he did Ghostbusters, because Ghostbusters awoke Hollywood to what he was capable of. And Marvel very quickly incorporated that into his Thor character. And, never look back. It's been a fantastic ride ever since. So that was a very shrewd move on his part, career-wise. So this is Olympus. And they have like the pomp and circumstance of the Little Mermaid, right? When they have the King Triton, choral presentation with his daughters at the beginning of the movie. So all these lightning bolts are going around, and who catches it? The trailer's trying to make you think maybe it's Thor, but at first I thought maybe it was, because in the Jason Aaron run, there were multiple Thors, and that was really fascinating. And I think Chris Hemsworth would have done a fabulous job with that. There was Thor, the current time Thor. There was Thor young before he wielded Mjolnir. And then there was King Thor, who had taken over for Odin. And these guys were comparing notes with their lives, and you could see how their personality had been forged over the centuries. And so that would have been great to see. But maybe Taika Waititi has brought Zeus in as kind of a cheat for that. Well, it's not actually Thor. It is in many ways a glimpse into potentially his future, and maybe what he doesn't want his future to be. Maybe Zeus is a very different type of ruler from Thor's father, and so to see that in action might be a wake-up call for Thor as well, because he always felt his father was too strict. I mean, this is great stuff. Fathers and sons and parents and children are also a big part of music, of songs, particularly in the 70s and 80s, I think. And I bet Taika Waititi is going to lean into that as well. I like that. That's great. So, not every god has a plan. That's Thor in a nutshell, or a heartbeat, or a nutbeat, as I just combined them together into celebrity couple. But so here, things have gotten pretty serious. So it looks like, I think that's another god that's been killed. And I think that's a wake-up call for Thor. This is like Gorr means business. But who else means business? New Asgard. Look at this. They've got several cruise. I think I see 3 cruise ships in port at New Asgard. They've got the flying tour. They've got that bus, that little van as well. It seems to be quite the tourist destination, which means the locals want in on this, and there's lots of regulation. And I think King Valkyrie is kind of like, she's a warrior. This isn't what she wants to do with her life. Tessa Thompson looks very cool there. Remember, she's supposed to find her queen in this movie, and I think a lot of us suspect that it's going to be Captain Marvel, which I think would be perfect. So here we are in Olympus, and look at that statue of Zeus. Maybe Thor at first looks around and he goes, let's take some decorating notes for what we'd like to maybe do with Asgard. Well, actually, he's not ruling Asgard. He's given that position to King Valkyrie, who he feels is more worthy. But that's gorgeous. So here's one of the funnier bits in the trailer. I love this. So Star-Lord is like, if you ever feel lost or something, just look to the people you love. And, it's interesting, Gamora's still not around. I hope that gets resolved in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. But he looks to the people he loves. And I love that Thor leans in there with his big eyes, like all hopeful. And he's like, I wasn't talking about us, And I love that Thor's like, oh yeah, I was just listening. And he does that so well. The awkward looking off. I guess this is maybe the send-off when the Milano jumps earlier in the trailer and he and Korg watch it go off. Maybe that's what's happening here. They've parted ways. So there's the logo, Thor Love and Thunder. So here comes the Mjolnir, which is of course cracked. And you'll remember that Mjolnir was destroyed by Hela, right, in Ragnarok, and then they had retrieved it out of time for Endgame, but then Captain America had returned it. So somehow, after Hela destroys it, it is reborn, but not totally fixed, and now wielded. So you can see he's like, what the hell? He's like, it's like seeing an ex-lover, Mjolnir, with someone else. There should be more lightning. And then you're like, oh, that could have been better. Because, that's the end note for this teaser. It should have been like incredible. And then they're like, July 2022. But yeah, so I think it's based on this teaser, I think it's ready to go. Let's go, man. Let's do it. So what did you think? What is your first impression of the movie? And are you someone who likes these new Thor movies, or are you in the camp that does not care for them? And also, I can't wait to see Gorr, although changed so dramatically from the comics that it's already a subject of intense debate. But let's see the performance and how they handle the story. All right, share those thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.